Arizona football gets a massive commitment, and could this be Tommy Lloyd's best team at Arizona?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we have got a lot to get to, but first, this show is brought to you today by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, check it out. Game Time, my friends. Game Time. All right, now we are going to talk a lot of Arizona basketball on this show. We're also going to talk some Arizona football. Arizona football gets a very, very nice commitment from Prince Williams, which we will be obviously talking about as well. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Tommy Lloyd just after what we've been watching, and is there the possibility that this is going to be his best team at the University of Arizona? Now, the first thing I want to talk about is, listen, everybody's talking about Koa Pete and Koa Pete and what he's done. And yes, to me, that has been the elephant in the room that I just don't think a lot of people wanted to address because, obviously Trey Townsend was really, really bad. The biggest difference from this in this year's team to last year's team is that Koa Pete is awesome. Trey Townsend was kind of a guy that just really wasn't that he just quite frankly just wasn't that good enough. Koa Pete is a massive, massive difference maker, and I think that's something that you have to put in there, is that he is going to be a guy that is going to drop, I think, 15-9, 16-9, something like that, and I think he's going to make it look fairly easy as well. He is, you watch him in these U19 games, you watch how he faces the basket, you watch how he can finish. The thing about him, too, that's also very intriguing is that he can get to his spot on the court when he wants. He's a better ball handler, I think, than a lot of people thought that he was going to be, and that's exactly what he's been able to do. So watching him, that's the biggest difference. That's going to be a massive, massive upgrade for the University of Arizona, and I think that's something that will be fun to watch. Now, but let's just kind of go position by position. Point guard position, I'm assuming Jaden Bradley is going to be a little bit better than he was this year. Watching Jaden Bradley, the one thing about him is I think that Jaden Bradley can be a better shooter than he has shown at this point. Jaden Bradley, like I said, is a guy that you look at his form and it's not like that Mustafa Shakur form where it's like, oh, yuck. What am I looking at here? It's nothing like that. He is, and I just think that he needs to shoot the ball with confidence. And I think if he shoots the ball with confidence, he's going to be in a pretty good spot. That's the thing that I think you need to look at with when it comes to what Jaden Bradley can do. And that's where I'm really at with all of this, and I'm going to continue to say this. With Jaden Bradley, continue to shoot the ball well. And, if it's open and you miss it, so be it. I don't really care. So I don't really care about this at this point. So there's obviously that. Now, and then you add in Evan Nelson as well. I think Evan Nelson is somebody that you watch and you're just kind of like, I think he's just going to be solid. I think he's going to be solid. And not only do I think he's going to be solid, I think he's going to be somebody that is going to make the open three. He's going to, I don't know what kind of defense he's going to play. I honestly don't. And I think anybody that says that they know, I think they're full of it as well. Nobody really knows what kind of defense he's going to bring, but I think he's going to be a steady, impact on the court. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be fun to watch. So I'm going to say that the point guard position is going to be better. Now, so the shooting guard position, I like Braden Burries a lot, but he's not going to be as good as Caleb Love. Listen, Caleb Love's senior season was a little bit up and down, and I totally get that. but he played really, really well at the end, and he was Arizona's best player. I mean, heck, you could make the case that against Duke and against Duke and certainly Oregon, Caleb Love was the best player on the court for the U of A, and a big reason why is because he started getting to the basket. That's something that he's always needed to do, and when he started doing it, it just opened up a multitude of different avenues for him that were quite frankly, it was exciting to watch because everybody knew he could do it, and I think that was just kind of the frustration about all of this is why in the world are you, why aren't you letting your, get to the basket, get the floaters? And he did exactly that. Now with Braden Burries is another one as well. Braden Burries is another one as well where it's like, I don't think that he's going to put the, I don't think he's going to really he's not going to put up those numbers, but I think he's going to be solid. I think he's going to be the guy that I think he's going to average about 13 points per game. He's not going to have the highs, but I also don't know that he's going to have the lows that he has. So there's obviously that. But the shooting guard position is not going to be as good. And I think that's something that we need to look at. And basically just acknowledge. But I do think he's going to be. I do think the shooting guard position is going to be a little bit less. It's not going to be as good, but I don't think it's going to be a dramatic drop off. But there's definitely a difference when you have somebody like Caleb Love that can get to the basket in the manner in which he can. That can do a lot of different things. So again, I'm going to take that a little bit back. Now at the small forward position, I'm going to say that Arizona is going to be better. Now listen, I like KJ Lewis. I think KJ Lewis is a pretty good player, but we can also be honest here. KJ Lewis was not a, how do I put this? He is not the he was not the highest highest IQ player out there because he would always do a bunch of really dumb things. And that it would drive me crazy, and they would generally be at the exact wrong time. Fouling three-point shooters, he was a big fan of. I think there was a stat that he fouled more three-point shooters than like every team except like 10 in college basketball. There was going to be something like that. I think of the game against Iowa State where he commits a foul, and then he looks at Tommy Lloyd, who's going to take him out because he's in foul trouble, and then he says, "No, coach, I got this. Don't worry about it." And then he proceeds before the ball is even inbounded to commit a foul. And then you got the play against Oregon where the ball is being thrown up to Caleb for a dunk, and then KJ gets it and then hangs on the rim and then tries to dunk the ball that goes out there, and he said he didn't know that was a rule. Things like that add up after a while, and I think that they're frustrating. So like I said, I wish he had come back, but I'm still okay that he's gone. I think that Arizona has more of a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, though, when it comes to that small forward position, because it's going to be a lot bigger now, and I think that's something that we need to look at, and I think it's something that we need to, fully embrace. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be a much bigger team, and I think that's something that, you look at Dwayne, you look at Yvonne, there's a lot of different guys out there that can do a lot of different things, and I think that's kind of what's exciting to watch about this team and, where they can go. You've got size, though. Both these guys are 6'7", 225 pounds. Both of them look like, are built like brick trucks or brick trucks. It doesn't matter. Both of them, though, really, really good. And then you add in ADO as well. So with ADO, you'll probably get a guy that averages about 6 points per game. And then I think with Yvonne and Dwayne, I think they're both going to be in that 6 to 7 point range. So I think from that small forward position, from those three guys, I think you're looking at something where you're probably going to get about 20 points, 7-8 rebounds, 3-4 assists, something like that. I think it's going to be a solid position for the U of A. Now, is it going to be the best position? No, but there is that. Now, I think the difference, though, is that with Koa Pete, that is the biggest difference in all of this for me. And again, I'm just going to go back to it. I think Koa Pete, I don't know that he's going to put up All-American numbers, but I do believe that he's going to have All-American potential and All-American impact. How many times last year would you watch Arizona and there would be a rebound where Trey should be able to get it, and it just kind of He didn't really go for it. He kind of loafed. He just, he did a variety of different things that you're just kind of left scratching your head on. That won't be the case with Koa. Koa is going to be able to get those rebounds, and I think that's another part about it that's exciting. Koa is going to be able to rebound out of his space. Koa is also going to be able to finish around the basket, and he's going to be able to dunk as well. I think, like I said, he's just a massive upgrade over massive upgrade over, what Arizona had in the past. So, like I said, and I believe that he's Tommy Lloyd's best. I believe he's going to be Tommy Lloyd's best recruit, and I believe that that's going to be it's going to bear itself out. So, like I said, we shall see how that plays out. But I am optimistic about Mr. Koa Pete and the potential that he is going to bring. And then I think Arizona's got a lot of other options too. If you're going at that power forward look, I think you can put. I don't think there's any reason you can't play Dwayne some there or Yvonne, because again, they're certainly big enough, they're certainly strong enough to be able to make that occur. And if that's the case, then Arizona's going to be in a good spot. So again, you're looking at it, and there's two positions that I think are going to be clearly better, and then there's the shooting guard not as good, small forward I think will at least be as good. The center is going to be interesting, and there's a couple things that we're probably not talking about. But first, game time, my friend. Game time, game time, game time. All right, check out Game Time. We've all been there. And again, you're trying to log in and you're waiting forever for concert tickets or games or whatever the case may be, only to lose your spot for the spot that you've been dying for. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Now, Game Time makes getting concert tickets easier than ever. Prices drop as it gets closer to showtime. That's a little bit of a different thing. And you can save up to 60% off with killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deals picks the best seats in your section for you. Again, with Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. There's no hidden fees. You don't look up and you're like, oh, man, I just spent $800 extra on something I have no clue. There is none of that. So, again, check it out, Game Time. The cool thing about this as well is that with Game Time, like I said, you know that it's good, and everybody is using it. So here's the deal. Take the guesswork out of Game Time, buying concert and ticket shows with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now I think that center position for Arizona can actually be better. Let's talk a little bit about that. Now, losing Henry Vasar sucks, obviously. But again, I think what Henry did, I think people need to, I think UNC fans are going to be in for a rude awakening. We shall see. But Henry could do a lot of things. Henry could rim run. Henry could also dunk. I liked when Henry got the ball, and Henry would just try to go straight up and dunk the ball. I loved that. And then he would block shots. There was also some games, too, where you watched Henry, and you're like, man, Henry's just not into it. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, how that plays out. Henry was good, though. Henry could also make the three, so there's that. But as we've talked about a million times, one thing about Tommy Lloyd is that Tommy Lloyd should have street cred when it comes to being able to tell people what he can do with with his players and everything. When it comes to big men, you look at Umar Ballo, you look at Keyshawn Johnson, you look at Zoo, you look at Christian Coloco. He does a very good job with big men, and he thought that Mo Krivas was going to be basically the center point of this team. Krivas was hurt, he was slow, and obviously when he was done for the season, Henry had to play more, and Henry emerged. So there's that for Tommy Lloyd as well. Krivas is back, and Krivas should be good to go. And like I said, with Tommy's track record, he's been talking about Mo Krivas, and he's been saying that Mo's a stud. At 7'3", 270 pounds, the guy can play. And he's going to be maybe the first guy of the Tommy Lloyd era where you can just kind of drop the ball into on the low post and just say, go to work, man. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be exciting to watch about him. He is also but like I said, he is not the most fleet of foot, but it'll be interesting to watch him go against It'll be interesting to watch him go against centers and other players, because, again, he's going to be bigger than everybody else. The problem with him, though, is that he's definitely slow twitch. There's and it was kind of that viral video against Malawatch where when Malawatch has already tipped the ball to his team, Krivas is just getting ready to jump. That's an issue. But there is something to be said, though, for when you have a guy that is going to you can just kind of dump the ball down to and say, all right, we need you to go to work. We need you to get some buckets here. So that's going to be an exciting part about all this to watch and just see how how that all just does transpire, because I think that could end up well for the University of Arizona. And then Tobe Awaka. I love Tobe. I was wrong on Tobe. Tobe is going to be 8-8, 9-9. He plays hard. There's some games that you just know that he's just kind of a little bit out of his realm, but he's a good player. He's a good player, though. I am curious. You see some of the videos where he's shooting a little bit. I am curious to see if they're trying to extend that out. But Arizona getting back Tobe was a big deal. And he is like I said, with you win games with people like Tobe Awaka, and I think that's something that we need to remember. So I think the center position should be as good if, like I said, but a lot of this I'm banking on Tommy Lloyd because, like I said, as much as I haven't really seen anything from Krivas to indicate that he's going to be more impactful than Henry, but again, Tommy Lloyd knows a lot more about this than I do, and Tommy Lloyd has also been right on his big men. So there's obviously that. And then off the bench, it's going to be interesting. I think the big one that you have to see is will C.D. Gay be able to play? Will he be eligible? He'll be eligible, but the problem is with the whole visa thing because these guys are transferring in. He's coming, obviously, from, I think it's Senegal, and they're on kind of one of the banned lists or whatever. So, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but you really want to get him on campus, though. And when I say you really want to get him on campus, you really want to get him on campus, mainly because I think he's a year away from possibly being that starting center. You watch him, he's 7'1". He can run like the wind. He can get up and down the court. He can block shots. He can shoot a little bit. And like I said, and he can really move. There's a lot to like. He's somebody that has some NBA potential to him. And I think that's, like I said, that's something that you can't really take lightly. And so that will be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how that one does play out. He is you want to get him on campus, though. But overall, I think this can be Tommy Lloyd's best team. Now, I do get some of the concerns for sure. Listen, you're relying a lot on freshmen. I get all of that. But these are also different kinds of freshmen. These aren't the Carter Bryant freshmen where you're drafting somebody based off potential. You're drafting somebody based off what they can already do. You look at Koa Pete, he doesn't, and again, this is not let's knock at Carter because I like Carter a lot. But Koa Pete's already a grown man. Braden Burry is going to be 20 years old before the season starts. I mean, these are dudes these are older guys. You look at Dwayne Aristode. Dwayne Aristode is 6'7", 235 pounds. He is he's a difference maker as well. So, I don't really worry about that. Now, I think the seeding argument, though, is something that probably we do need to address. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. Locked on your team every day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now the seeding aspect is something, though, that I do find a little bit disconcerting because Arizona's probably going to drop a lot of games early on. Arizona's got the toughest schedule in the entire country. You look who they're playing, and it's a gauntlet. It is to put it mildly, it is a gauntlet. It's the best, and I think you could make the case that it's the hardest schedule in Arizona school history. Are there going to be some bumps and bruises along the way? Yes. Now, are you going to lose enough games to where, come March, you're like, all right, well, you know what? You've lost 10, 11 games. You're going to be a 3 or 4 seed, and you're going to have to play for 1 seed in the Sweet 16. I think there's very much that possibility that could be the case. But I also prefer this than just playing a bunch of cream puffs. Tommy Lloyd clearly wants to play good teams, and I give him a lot of credit for that. Because, again, he doesn't have to. I mean, he could do, Miller basically, they did things to try to rig the RPI system, and I get it. I'm not going to even blame Miller for it. But at the same time, when you come up under Lute Olson and you're like, all right, you just kind of know it when you see it. And that's kind of, like I said, with Arizona, I want to play the best teams out there. And I think that everybody should want to play the best teams out there. And I think that's something that Tommy Lloyd wants to do as well. So there's going to be some growing pains, but also come March, this team could really, really be a monster. And I believe that it will be his best team because all the other teams, there was some flaw that was noticeable or discernible against good teams. That first year's team was loaded, but you had no guard play. Kerr wasn't good enough. I don't care what anyone says. Kerr wasn't good enough. That second year's team was kind of a fool's gold team because Zoo was your best player, but there was really no NBA talent on there. I know Pella was there, like I said, against Princeton, they didn't really have guys that could score. The next year's team, that team was just that team was a mess mainly because of Kylan Boswell. You just kind of wondered what was the focus like on that team, and it just didn't appear to be there. Last year's team, I really liked. It was his toughest team, and I liked how they came together. The big problem, though, also is that, outside of Caleb Love, you didn't have guys that could consistently score. Plus, you had a guy in Trey Townsend who you were counting on to be really good, and he was really bad. So there's that, and you were, this year's team, I think, has a better combination of just raw talent, top players to it, and like I said, I think it's more well-rounded. I also think it's deeper. I think this is a team that's legitimately going to be able to go 9 deep. You look at it because, again, you're going to have Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries, Dwayne Aristode, Yvonne, ADO, Koa Pete, Krivas, Tobey, and obviously to an extent Evan Nelson. Those guys are all going to play minutes. So to what degree is that impact? I don't know. I don't think that anybody knows that yet. But it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to find out as we go further. So there's obviously that. But like I said, I think that this could be a team that I think should have Final Four hopes, Final Four expectations. Not expectations, but I think it's a team that's easy to see possibly making the Final Four. So that's kind of where we're going to go at from that perspective. Okay, now we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, but breaking news, Arizona football gets a very nice commit from a top 500 player. Prince Williams out of Bishop Gorman, a pass rusher. He had a lot of different offers. I got to say, this was an awesome week for Arizona football. You got a 4-star, you got a high 4-star quarterback in Oscar Rios. You got a running back that was a top 40 running back or a top 40 player in all of California. And now in Prince Williams, you got somebody at the pass rushing position. So I got to give this staff a lot of credit. This was a big weekend. This was a big recruiting weekend for Brent Brennan. And like I said, and I'm going to keep saying this, I get people all the time that are like, oh, well, should I root for the Wildcats? Yes, you should root for the Wildcats. Brent, listen, they messed up a lot of stuff last year. I don't think that they would even dispute that. But everything that everybody has wanted them to do, they have done. As for this offseason, you got rid of Babers, and you brought in an OC that knows what he's doing, that has a track record. You also have players, too, that you watch, and you're like, okay, they're on the same page. They did a fairly good job, I think, with the skill position players as well, so there's that. And then you watch on the defensive side, like I said, that worries me a great deal. But the bigger thing, too, they're engaging the community, and that is something that it just didn't. You don't give yourself any margin for error as a coach if you don't engage. If you better win, because if you basically say none of this is my job and you don't engage the community, that's a problem. Because you're not giving anybody any reason. You're not giving anybody any goodwill to root for you. And I think that's that's the part that you have to look at. So we will, like I said, we'll see. But like I said, it's been a good offseason for them. I've been happy with it. And again, you got to win games. But hope springs eternal, and I got to give Brendan a lot of credit on this one. And this was a good recruiting week for them as well. All right, tomorrow though, we're going to talk about Prince Williams, what he brings, what his offer list was as well. Because again, this was a kid. This was not an OKG. This was a kid that could go to a lot of different schools, had a lot of different options. He's a bigger guy, and you got to think too with some of these guys moving on. Like a Trey Smith, you got to think that he's going to be in a position to possibly play. And, possibly play early. And, again, he's at a powerhouse like Gorman, so that kind of speaks for itself. Okay, but Everybody out there, very much appreciate you all. Have a safe 4th of July. Don't do anything dumb out there. You don't want to wake up next morning saying, what the heck did that just happen? You don't want any of that to happen. And again, bear down and back the A. We very much appreciate you making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Locked On, your team every day. I'm going on record, and I'm saying that I think 25-26 is going to be Tommy Lloyd's best team. Have a great day, and we will be back with you tomorrow.